This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. Shall we start for the day? You're able to see my screen or no?
Yeah, yes, Abdul, you can carry on.
Okay. Okay, so in the previous class, we discussed about milestone and all. So what we will do today, let's look into the cost planning. Okay, start from the cost plan. So these are the different type of cost planning available in the PS. Okay. For example, overall planning or hierarchical planning this is the simplest form. Then there is a detailed planning available, cost element planning, which is again a manual planning. And there are other methods are there, like, for example, unit costing, easy cost planning, and there is an automatic also the cost planning using network activity. So we will be covering these two. Then this one will, part of this I will explain. Okay, this is again, anyway, it is a part of this. And easy cost planning is a specific, so whoever has a specific requirement will cover it separate in a separate course. So these things we will be covering it. So basically, what we do is hierarchical planning. Again, what is the purpose of cost planning? That is also important, right? So normally, when you are talking about in a project, from a business perspective, they use a single term budget for a project budget. Okay, but when it comes to SAP, we have two separately. Budget is separate, cost planning is separate. So budget is actually we are using it for a controlling purpose. So in SAP perspective. But the budget, what business is saying, it is actually the planned cost, what they have considered an amount initially. So that is what a project budget. So that is the initial plan which you need to do it. And again, cost planning also will come in a different scenarios, like, maybe we have different options. Then how do you consider it in the future? So basically, this is a yardstick, or you can say the base for considering your project. During a project, how much you have actual came, and you compare with your plan, whether this is the progress is in okay, or whether you are going to, for example, if you talk about a customer project, you want to see whether you are going to make profit or not, all those kind of things which you need to compare. So for that, surely cost planning is important. But when it comes to the other functionalities from the finance perspective, for example, your result analysis, those kind of functionality which if you want to execute, then similarly progress analysis, all those things also require a planned cost, because planned cost is the base for that. So basically, for those things you need a cost plan against a cost element. So what we are talking about in hierarchical planning, in a hierarchical planning we are not doing any kind of cost element. It is just entering a value against the WPS, like you have seen it in the picture here, or you can say this slide. So we will maintain the value in the lowest level WPS element. Then it will roll up to here. Then it will roll up to here. You can see this one. Again, here there is a control available, possible that you have seen that operative indicators which we are talking about a planning element. So that planning element we can use it here to control where we need to allow the system to enter the, or allow the user to enter the plan cost, so that you can control it from that planning indicator. So basically what you can do in a hierarchy, if you are using a hierarchy planning, the lowest level you can do the planning element, then you can enter the higher level, let it roll up. So what happens, you will not get you will get consistent data. For example, here 2010, then it should be 30 years. So you don't need to make it more than that. Then you keep it, this one not a planning element, this two will be a planning element. then these two values will be rolled up here. So this is how you do a hierarchical cost plan. Now, when it comes to the cost element planning, so here we call it a concept called the detailed planning. So here what we are maintaining the cost planning against cost element. Again, what is cost element? So cost element is, if you look at from the CEO perspective or finance perspective, normally in finance, the value flow is basically divided based on GL accounts, general ledger accounts. So that is how the accounts are recorded against each ledger. So here, from the finance perspective, there will be mainly two kind of ledger. One is P&L will be there, profit and loss account will be there. Another one will be balance sheet. So when it comes to controlling all the profit and loss GL, there will be a corresponding cost element created to it. So that cost element, so basically it is carrying the internal cost between the organization. So we need to specify when we are doing a cost element planning, we need to specify we are going to plan against which cost element. So normally the breakup of the cost element will be like labor cost, material cost, and like a different way of the cost will be bifurcated into pieces from the finance perspective, and that will be represented by a number, a GL number, or we can say cost element number. So we will be using that cost element. So if you come to our project cost planning, so suppose in the project you will have different kind of resources, right? Last time we discussed, right? The resources, you will have materials, then you will have manpower, then you will have equipment, then you will have tools, right? Then you will have services. Then these services can be either, maybe instead of services, you can say civil services. Civil will be there, mechanical will be there, electrical will be there, like that different services will be there. So this is one way, or you can say it's all together, we call it as a project services. Whatever the way, I mean, how the organization segregated. So these are will be different cost elements. So for example, there will be each will be represented by a number. Say for example, this is a material, all the cost, direct cost will be represented by a 4 series. So let's say 4001, then maybe this will be 402, like that. You can represent it different way. So this may be the 2, then this may be the 3, then this 4, then this 5, like that. So this is the way primary cost. So for example, this can be sometimes can be a secondary cost. So, and this 3 can be a secondary cost. So there is a concept called there is something called in costing, we have a concept called primary cost, and there will be a secondary cost. So there will be always a cost is there is a bifurcation called primary and secondary. Okay, so how this differs is, or we can say in another same, direct cost or indirect cost. So for example, if you are going to make something like if you look at from a production perspective, or you look at from a project, you are going to construct a building. So these things, materials and services, you are going to buy for that specific purpose, right? You will buy this, and services only you are getting from for this specific purpose. You are going to create a building. But whereas your manpower is already there in your company, so you are utilizing them. So actually, the primary cost of the manpower is directly to the company, not to this project specific. Okay, but what you are using, we are taking a part of the direct cost allocating to this project. So that kind of will be represented by a secondary cost. So there will be different cost element will be there. Sometimes it will be different series. Sometimes this will, they represent this will be with say 9 series, 9 1, then you can say 9 2, 9 3, like that. So whatever is showing is a primary is this one, and this is secondary. That way the different cost element will be there in the system. So we will be using that for planning the cost. So this is what we do normally in cost element planning. Okay, so now as a configuration, we need to maintain a planning profile. So planning profile is basically used for represent the cost, how you are going to use that the periods, and also it will represent what is the variant you are going to use, and all those things will specified. And that planning profile will be assigned to your project profile. That is how the configuration will work. So now let us look into the system. How does it look for the hierarchical cost planning and cost element level planning? So here, let us take a project. Let's take the same example, for example, this one. This one is symbol, I think one has 9 has a further bifurcation. Just check that. Okay, both are same. So to make the cost planning, let's try whether it is that control is there or not, and I'll come back to you. Let's go to the transaction code for hierarchical cost planning, which is CJ40. Then here we talk about that version yesterday, right? And the project version, there is a CO plan version is there where you can maintain the value in the different versions. So it is something like CO plan version means you are recording the value against a version. Okay, not like a project version. Project version is something like you are taking a snapshot of that database. But here in the database itself, you have an option to maintain 2 values against one object, but in a against different versions. That functionality is available from the CO perspective. So that is what we call the CO version. So basically, version 0 is the system default version. So we call it as that actual will be always recorded under 0 version. So if you are using both planning, for example, you want to do the hierarchical planning and also cost element planning. So it will be, if you make both in one version, then it will automatically add it up. So right in the report, you will find double. So for that purpose, what you can do, you can use it maybe version 1 for say hierarchical and version 0 for cost element, because the cost element planning is very much required for to execute other functions like result analysis, progress analysis, and all those things. So the other one, what we're calling it is the hierarchical planning. It's just a rough cut planning, just for an information purpose, or just for a comparison. So let's check what are the plan options available here. So here there is no plan version ever allowed. So let's see now available. Let's see whether this will allow or not. Yeah, it's allowing. So here you can see only here it is allowed to enter the value. The rest are grayed out. So the reason being is that this might be the planning element may not be active. Or let's take this. So if I look at here, the hierarchy. So you can see only planning element is available for ad hoc planning. The other one, planning elements are not active. So what we can do, we can activate it. So once you activate it, so you will get the option to maintain the hierarchical plan value for all. So let's save this. Okay. So let me go back to here. Version 1 I will choose. Then I will enter it here. So now we can see this is all active. So we can put, so here it is showing with the WBS element. If you want to change it to description, okay. Option is there using description. So you can see that these are the BBP how much. So we can put, say, let's say it's a 100,000. Then let's say realization will go for a 200,000, 150,000. 2 million. Okay, so let's say 250,000. Okay, then go live maybe another 150,000. Okay, the project management need a 75,000, and ad hoc planning you need a 50,000. So like that, this was your project budget, or you can from the business perspective. Then these are the values. So here, if you want to total it up, while saving, it will do automatically. So before saving, if you want to check, you can go here, edit, and total it up. So this is the period which is, how the horizon, planning horizon we are specifying in the profile. That's what is representing it here. So we'll just put it. So 625,000, that is the amount there. So here you can see what is distributed and distributable. So it means whether it is you have a child or not. That's what is representing it. Then let me just save this. So this value has been saved. Now you can see this in the report. For example, if I go to information system, project system, then financials, cost, then plan based, there is two, hierarchical or by cost. Let's go for hierarchical. Then let's say this one, plan actual variance. So you know that always we have to choose the database profile. So let's choose the standard one. Then check it up. Then here you have to give the version, because normally we planned for 1. So you have to put the version 1, then check it. So it will give that value. So you can drill down how the values are there. Then when actual comes, you can see that actual, then we'll find the variance like that. There are many reports are available which you can check it. This one, commitment remain plan 1, plan 2. For example, here if you have, when the 2 plan comes, you can compare it here. Plan version 1, version 2. See, you can have that different version compared to. Okay, any doubt or it's clear? Okay, basically it comes the transaction codes, project system, financials, then planning, cost in WBS, overall values. Here we have that CJ40 for change, CJ41 for display. Now what we are talking about next one is cost element planning, which is the transaction code is CJR2. So let's say this is the same project. I want to do a version 0 cost element planning. Okay, so here we will put version 0. Then here we are specifying an option. Here there is two things we have to do. We have to do per year, per WBS element, per cost element. So it is a combination of three. Okay, so we have year, then it should be for year, then WBS element, then we need a cost element. So these three things will come the combinations. So here there is an year, there are an option whether you can have overall or you can have by period. The WBS element you have to specify, each specify. So it is a little bit cumbersome job when you do it manually, or better to go for some kind of VDC recording and Excel upload and all those things. And there is a SAP also gives some option whether if you can go and do some kind of configuration customization, and it is possible to do an Excel upload and all those. So here let's come back to here. So let's say version 1 and period 1 to 12. Here period 1 means it's all representing the fiscal year. Okay, so it is depends on your geographical area where what is the fiscal year is followed. For example, if you look at from India, it is from April to March. If it is in the Middle East and all, they represent January to December. So if you go to Southern Hemisphere like Australia or in Argentina and all, this follow from July to June. So it depends. So each country will have their own legal requirement, the way they follow the financial year. So what we are the period 1 to 12 is representing the financial period, not the calendar year. So let's say 2020. Then we need to put a WPS. Let's take a WPS element. For project, I have $9. So these are my WPS element. So let's say I want it is to BVP. Okay, so the BVP I said earlier it is 100,000, right? So 100,000 is my value. But this 100,000, how I divide it? For example, I need say. Anyway, material is not required, but I'm just taking an example. Normally, it will be resource 1, resource 2, resource 3, like that. Maybe FI resource, PS resource, something like that will be first. So here I'm taking this another way. So let's say manpower, and I need a service, something like that, three way. So I will say it will come 30,000, and this will be my 50,000. Okay, then this will be my 20,000. So what happens here? We will have 3 cost elements we need to find out. Then each cost element will put the value. So here, if you look at this, this is my WBS element. Okay, and the year is 2020. Then cost element I have to put. Let me just look at here. What are the cost element number comes? This is the cost element. So let's say chart of account. I think INT or for company code you can take cost element here. What is my company code is there? No, controlling area is there. Okay. So let's say raw materials. This is one. So this is what I will put it there. So for this raw material, I need to put this value. Okay. Now here, I have 2 options. Either I can do it overall value. Okay, this is overall value, or I have an option. I can go for period value. So you can put the period wise, which period the cost is going to happen. So if I put overall, then automatically it will do equal distributions. Say for example, I will come here and then I will say 30,000. So that is not to be the case. For example, in the project detail planning, maybe they will have the plan for this month, this much is required. So you know why this is required is because there is a concept called the cash flow, right? In project cash flow is there. So if you want to know the cash flow, so the cash flow is calculated roughly from the plan cost, but it is really, there is a different method is there in SAP from the finance perspective. But for a rough calculation, what they'll do, they will consider the plan then with the period. So they know that they are approximately for this period, this much cost is going to incur. So there is two things. For example, then there will be two things, right? In cash flow, you will have outflow and you will have inflow. So inflow, for example, if you are talking about customer project, inflow is the amount you are getting it from there. So normally, customer will have a kind of credit period will be there. Let's say 3 months is the credit period. So, for example, I will raise a bill in February. Then, when I am going to get the amount from the customer is after 3 months, right? So March, April, May. So it will be end of May only I'm going to get it. So this 3 months before you need a cash, right, for to execute that project or that part of the project. So for that, surely finance required some fund need to be arranged. So for that, the different way of fund arrangements will be there. One thing is they will do a credit negotiation with their vendors for some material and all those things they can get it. But when you're talking about manpower, which is not possible, you have to pay the salary, right? Every month you have to pay the salary. So if they don't have the inflow, then they need to look for a overdraft functionality from the bank. So there are so many kind of things is happening behind this, when in finance terms. So these kind of informations are important for them to take a decision making. So for that, preferably they will tell that you need to put it in a detailed way. Okay. So, but anyway, here it is now equally distributed. Then you can have it here. Now material is there. Now what we need to do is we need to go for some kind of manpower, right? Let's say salaries or something like that is there. Yeah, salaries you can put. So this is the manpower, you can say salaries. Normally, you will not put salaries because salaries will be a direct cost. Normally we put it. You can put it in a direct cost also. So here manpower we need to put it 5,000. So we'll go here overall planning. Then we save it. Then we will let's check services, some kind of services. Direct services or something like that. So let's put here, let's say serve. External services, suppose this. So this is the number. So for that we have a 20,000. So if I go here, then I need to put that value as well. So this 100,000 I have planned. Now this amount I will be able to. So now, for example, if I want to go for 2, then I have to put the 2 here, then do the same thing. Okay? That is a repetition of that. So now if I go to the report, again we'll go back to that information system, project system. Then let's say financials. And there is a 2 option, hierarchy, plan based, hierarchical, or by cost element. You can go for by cost element. Let's say this second one, plan variance. Okay, here you can put the project number, then you have to put the version, it is 0, we put it, then which fiscal year and from which period to which period. And if you have some separate cost element group or value, you can filter with that here itself. So let's go back. So you can see that this is the WBS element. Okay. Then here it has come consumption of this way, this is the total value. And if you go to the right, then it will show period wise. Okay. Not here, I think other report somewhere. XATS. There is a period wise report. So go back. Plan, record, project, period comparison. Plan. What happened? Yeah, it's compiled. Yes. For example, this one, look at here. So here it will give you the value by period. So here why it is showing is means that project we have planned some revenue in another example. That's why if you come to this WBS element, you can see what is I planned. This is how the each period. Anyway, it is equal distribution, so it will be the same value. But if you have planned specific to a period, then you will become to know that what is the plan for that specific period. So these are the cost elements. Then these are the values maintained. Okay. So now let us check what is the configuration for this. So let's open our project here. So what is the, if you look at here, we have a planning profile for this project profile. So let us go to our configuration. SPRO. project system, then under cost, planned cost, then we have manual cost planning in WBS element. Then there is something called hierarchical cost planning. Then here there is a planning profile. So this is the one, I think 13301. Yeah. So here we have to create a planning profile. Then here what we give is in the manual planning, there is an option here, planning elements or bottom-up planning. So here, if you uncheck this planning element, then what happens? It will allow all the WBS element, regardless of whether that WBS element is planning element or not. Okay, I'm talking about the hierarchical planning. So if you don't need that control, then you can uncheck this. And this is the time frame we said, which is you can put it how many years you want it the backwards, and you need to consider that. Normally that is considered that time frame normally we put based on the organization requirement. Let's say they will consider how many years the project will be running. Say, so you need to keep that period open. So that is the reason they mention it that way. For example, if your project is for 3 years or 2 years, 2 years means less is 1 and 1 or 1 and 2 is maximum. So that is the way that you are adjusting it. So you want it for the future as well as you to just check the past as well. Then here these are the cost element group, which if it is required you can put it. Then this is basically is relevant for unit costing. Then if you want to put, you can put the decimal places. Then exchange rate is, which is normally how the, if you are planning in a different currency, for example, if you go to this CJ40, then here there is an option to put the currency. If you want to plan it in a different currency, you can put it. Okay, so that currency, how the exchange rate need to be considered, that is what you need to mention it here. So this is again, you need to discuss with the finance what rate you need to consider that is, because there are so many options available, which you need to take it up. Then planning currency by default, this controlling area currency, your object currency, transaction currency. So this we can default it. And here there is a configuration, which is again is referring to the automatic or you can say the revenue planning. When you are doing revenue planning, then that revenue need to be recorded under which element. Okay. So like a cost element, if it is a revenue, we call it as a revenue element. So we need to just mention that billing plan need to be recorded under which revenue element. So that's what we are specifying it here. So this is what the profile. Then this profile will be assigned to the project profile. Here we'll go. Then if you look at the 9020, you can see that this is assigned to it. So either you can assign it from here or normal from our project profile. There is an option. So if you go to the controlling part, then here there is an option, planning profile, budget profile, and all those things, which you can assign it here. Both are same. It will be just linked to there. So this is much is actually basically from the base planning, or you can say basic concept of planning. Now the next one is what we need to look into it is the detailed planning, which is we are calling as a automatic planning, or we call it as a network costing. Okay, so far any doubt we need to have for this two topics, hierarchical planning and cost element planning?
No.
Okay, it's clear, right?
No.
So now let us go back to our presentation. Then let's run through that. What is a costing concept? Then maybe in the next class we can jump into the detail. So this is what we are talking about, the planned costing network, or we can say automatically planning. The cost is calculated automatically from the network. So we have seen the functionality of network, where we do a, let's say, scheduling, like we prepare the list of activities, then we prepare a precedence table, then that precedence table we are linking it and we are making a schedule. Okay, so again, if you have a doubt why we are doing the scheduling, so the scheduling is done to control the dates, the project dates. So if you want to control the project dates, then you need to utilize the project network. So it's regardless of whether your investment project or whether your customer project or your overhead project, any project, you can use this functionality. Okay. What is the difference between the investment, or you can say internal project and external project? If it is an internal project, what happened, only project management will happen in-house, and all your resources, everything will be from external. Like you are giving a turnkey contract to a turnkey contract to a contractor or supplier, then they will vendor, they will be doing the execution of the project. So as long as investment project is concerned, that the schedule what you are representing is basically it's representing the contractor schedule, how the contractor is going to execute, that you are replicating it in your system just for the monitoring purpose and controlling purpose. Whether whatever the contractor agreed earlier is he following properly. If you want to monitor that, then you need to have a scheduled in your system. But when you come to the external project, like for example, a contracting company is making a building for a contractor for a customer, then that is an external project. For that, yes, you are controlling your project, because you need to know whether I will be able to meet my time as per this. That's what you are doing the scheduling. Now, in the automatic costing or network costing, what happens when you are making the schedule, you can plan your resources also along that one. So the resource, as I said, we have material, manpower, your equipment, then your services and all those things you can plan. So whatever you are planning there, and already you are scheduling it. So what happens? You will have a period-wise distribution will come, right? Each activity will be running a span of time. Then in that span of time, you have a list of resources, and each resources is linked with a cost. For example, if you take a material, then material has a cost, right? Then if you take a resource, for example, you are planning a manpower is planned through activity type. So that has a cost associated with it. So that system automatically pick from that. Then it will calculate it here and it will show it as a total planned cost for that period. So that is why the network costing is important, specifically when you do it for the external projects, like customer projects. It's very easy to monitor and control. So here this slide represents that you have under each WBS element you will have different activities, then that activity will have different resources associated, and that will total it up to a cost. Then whenever you move this, automatically that cost also will keeps on distributing as per the period. So here what are the components, or you can say parts, which is contributing to calculate the total network cost. So here this is representing, there is a material components which you are planning in the project, which will contribute. Then there is an external, or the services that will contribute. Then from internal processing, this kind of other machineries or man that will contribute. Then there will be a primary cost activities if whatever the primary cost activity which you are maintaining with the primary cost or unit cost, that will contribute. So these are the different way of, what are the components which is involved in the network costing: the material components, then the services, then the internal processing, which is the nothing but the man machine, then unit costing, which is the primary cost. So now we need to look into the detail. Okay, for example, when you're talking about internal processing, so internal processing, how the internal processing activity will be contributed to the network costing. So on internal processing, what we do, we maintain a work hours, how many hours of work is required. Then for that, we specify a work center, and the work center, and also we specify activity type. Normally, activity type will get default if you have defaulted the activity type in the work center. Then from that perspective, from that work center perspective, this will get that activity type multiplied by the number of hours. Okay, then that will do a calculated the total cost for that internal activities. So here actually what is happening is, in the internal processing, you are maintaining the work for each activity. Then you are also specifying which activity type. Obviously work center also will be there. Then this is multiplied by the activity type rate we normally maintain in the system. So there will be a rate against each activity type. Then that will be multiplied by the total hours. Then that will calculate the total cost. Okay. Anyway, I will explain it in the system in detail. So then when we are talking about the external processing, right? So when you're talking an external processing or service, both are same. External processing service, what happened? You are planning the services. That services we will put a cost. So that cost obviously will be considered for costing. Then that is normally go for the procurement cycle, right? Purchase requisition, bid, invitation, quotation, vendor, purchase. So this kind of processes, you can use that external processing activities, the services, that will go for that one. Okay, so the cost which you are maintaining for each service, that will be considered for the service cost. Then when we are talking about the cost activities, so for example, let's say in the project site, you need certain kind of insurance, right? So when you are executing some kind of project at site, then there will be a workman compensation policy. There are so many insurance need to be taken, which is a part of health and safety requirement. So you cannot deploy any people at site without a proper insurance, even for the equipment also. So there will be different compensation will be there. One for the if any damage happens to the employee, then you need to pay for them. That is called workman compensation. Then similarly, that there will be third party compensation. For example, if you are deploying some kind of crane at site, then that crane goes and touches to the side building, nearby building, and it makes some damages, then you need to pay for them. So this way, in each project site, there will be a different requirement of insurance. This is an example I'm saying. Similarly, you can have many things. So this kind of cost also you need to represent in your network cost, right? When you are doing a total cost calculation, then you need to consider this much of amount also. It need to be considered as a part of your expenses. So, and when you are preparing when you can create, so this kind of things you can create one activity, or you can say the primary cost activity, or you can say cost activity. Then when you put that activity, you can represent the duration. For example, your work duration is maybe crane will be you need a third party insurance for operating a crane, and the crane that you are going to operate it only for 3 months. Then you can represent that by creating a primary cost activity. Then you put a duration of 3 months. Then you put the value. So the value, there is a two option. Either you can put a lump sum value, or there is an option you can go for unit costing. I mean, you can click the costing button, then you can maintain the detail like this. See, material this much. So this way, I mean, this compensation, for example, insurance, what is the policy charges, what is the, clerical charges, what is this charges. So that way, if you want, you can break it up also, or you can just put to the as a amount here. That way also you can do it. So then this also will be this amount what you are maintaining on the cost activity also will be contributing to the network. Then that also will be totaled up for that period. Then other options are coming is like, for example, if you are assigning different orders to the project, like maintenance order is there linked with your network, or you have a production order is linked to your network, then automatically there is an option system can take those costs, because normally in plant maintenance order also you maintain the cost, right? Because there will be again task will be there, each task will have a work, and that work will have a link with an activity type, then that rate will be calculating. Then that also will be contributed here for this purpose. So then this is the settings, appended portion that I will explain, and these are the configurations. Like we need to have a costing variant. Again, costing variant is done by finance, which you need to understand what is happening with that. Then these are the parameter, distribution key, control key, formula, and all those things we need to understand it. So this is just an overview, but we need to jump into detail of each. For example, this one, what is work center, how it is happening, that we need to understand. Then this one, external, how you are going to plan, that you need to understand. And specifically, we need to see a material, how the material is going to assign, that we need to understand. Then we will see how to link a plant maintenance order and get the cost into the project. Okay, so these are the things we need to do it. So we will take it up in the next class. Okay, so network costing I will go through again. Okay, so but just these are the conceptually, this is what happening in network costing. So we have different components involved in it, like internal activity, external activity, or you can say service activity, then cost activity. So these are the three activities, and basically material component also we will be planning in the internal activity. Then again it comes to the concept of what is a stock, what is valuated stock, non-valuated stock, or stock material or non-stock material, or whether it is individually handled material or it is a collectively handled material. There are different permutation combination comes in that one. So we can just go into that. Okay, so what we will do, we will take it up in the next class, the details, and also seeing it in the system. Also, you can just possible just read this about network costing. Then you can clear your doubts also in the next class. So it's a detailed area. So please have a look at it. And again, what I'm saying from the configuration perspective, there is not much involved. It's all are conceptually you need to be clear what is happening, how it is calculating. That's it. Okay. Not much configuration. Again, it's a engine is very strong from the SAP perspective. So only thing is we are utilizing it in a proper way. Same thing what we have seen it in scheduling also. Not much configurations. It's all inbuilt available. But only thing is we should know how to utilize it, and conceptually we need to be clear. The same thing here also. Okay, so we'll see you in the next class.